Hey everyone, it's been a long time since I published my last video. So here I am after a small break. In this video, we are going to build a fun project using Python. So without any further ado, let's begin. So more specifically, we are going to build a self-replicating program. That is, when the program is run, it will create copies of itself. So first of all, let me create a folder by the name self-replicating program. Let me go ahead and create a text file named creeper.txt with the content as I am the creeper, catch me if you can. And then let me go ahead and create a Python file and let's call it replicator.py. Now, first of all, let me import all the necessary modules that we need for this project. So, OS, subprocess, and platform. So now let's make the text file to open as soon as the program starts executing. So at the start of executing this program, we need to open this text file automatically. So in order to do that, let's write some conditionals. So if platform.system is Windows, then we will say os.start file of that particular file name, which is creeper.txt. And if platform.system is equal to a Linux based system, then we will say subprocess.call and we will pass in a tuple which contains two elements, and the first one is xdg open and then the name of the file, which is creeper.txt. And if it is a system other than Windows or Linux, let's say Mac, then we will say subprocess.call and again we will pass in a tuple which will contain the first element as open and the second one is again the name of the text file, which is creeper.txt. So now that we are done with this particular part, let's create a class called replicator. And let me initialize a class variable called clone counter to 1. And let's define the initializer or the so-called constructor of our class. Let's define the clone directory path. Let's say os.path.join os.get current working directory. So we are going to create the copy of these files in our current directory itself. So os.get current working directory, comma, the name of the directory, which is clone, and added with it we have the replicator dot clone counter, and then the list of files which we want to copy into the directory. So the first file is creeper.txt and the second one is replicator.py. So now we are done with the initializer part. Now let's create a method called replicate, which does the actual job of replicating the files. So this function will not take any arguments. And let's create a try catch block. And let's create a new directory, which will be this clone directory path. So you will see that the directories will be of clone 1, clone 2, because we are making use of this clone counter, and accordingly these directories will be created using this make directory function. Okay. So in case we encounter an exception such as the file exists, that is, if already this clone directory is existing, clone 1 or clone 2 is existing, then we need to increment this counter and then create the directory accordingly. So in order to do that, let me first increment the clone counter by 1, and then let me just copy this line. So after incrementing the counter, we are going to update the path of our directory, and then we are going to again create the directory using this method. So now the creation of directory is done. Now the main part that we need to be considered is copying the files from this current directory to the clone directory. So in order to do that, let's traverse to the list of files that we have, and then let's open the files in reading mode. So the files that are present in the current working directory, that is creeper.txt and replicator.py, will be opened in read mode, and then we will copy the data from these files. So in order to do that, let me just make a small change here. So let's open this file with an alias such as the source file. Now let's do source file.read and store that data in src file data. Now let me open the destination directory. And let's open it in write mode. So you can see the self.clone directory path is the actual directories which will be created, such as clone 1, clone 2, etc. And then we are going inside that directory and placing our files. So this will automatically create an empty file there. Now in order to copy this data, let's again give an alias to this file. Let's call it destination file. Now destination file dot write src file data. So the data from these source files will be copied to the destination files. Now that the class definition is also complete, let's create an object and call the replicate method. Now let me create an object. Let's call it rep, and let's do rep dot replicate. Now let's execute the program and see it in action. So as you can see, the file creeper.txt is opened at first. So if I close this file, you can see that we have a new directory called clone1 created here, which contains a replica of the files that we have in our current directory. So we have replicator.py and creeper.txt here, and it will contain exactly the same data. Now if I run the program once again the text file is opened at first, and you can see clone2 directory is created with the two files creeper.txt and replicator.py. So this was a very simple example of a self-replicating program. You can take this forward by making the function replicate recursive or iterative to go through all the directories of the system and turn it into a worm. So that's it for this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. With that being said, I will see you in the next one.